3-month campaign and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. No. You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough? It was too long.
Like, we don't know in Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
But you're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out, or you know in a week. You know, did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week?
Some Democrats still haven't accepted Kamala Harris's crushing defeat in last year's election.
The candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes, and like always begging for money and knocking on doors? We've got people knocking on doors. People don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy.
It's been 8 months, yet excuses are flying left and right. But Bill Maher isn't buying it. He flat out said Harris deserves blame, and he wasn't shy about calling it out when Democrats tried to defend her.
Hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. You know, there was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up to fail.
Maher laid out exactly why voters found Harris so unlikable, and he nailed it. Instead of a clear message, Democrats doubled down on woke pandering, gimmicks, and manipulation. They never earned support, they tried to manufacture it.
No. You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough? It was too long.
It was long enough.
It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone and didn't like them.
If they had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had, she would have been able to rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team. And so I wonder if that next Democratic person, maybe someone's not even on our radar yet. Because frankly, when you look at the history of who's there's two types. The one who waited in line, who was next in line, and then there's the one who comes out. That's Obama, that's Clinton, that's Reagan to some extent.
Then came the mental gymnastics. Sarah Isgur acted like Harris was some forgotten backup choice, ignoring her 4 years as vice president. Maher didn't let it slide. He reminded everyone voters didn't forget her, they rejected her.
I'm going to side with Sarah about this one thing. If you're the sitting vice president for a president who has, throughout his entire term in office, been sitting at about somewhere between a 35 and 40% approval rating. People view the Biden administration as a failure. We can have a long discussion about whether they are right about that, about the economy, but the perceptions of the economy were that people thought inflation was too high, people thought we were on the wrong track, 75% wrong track numbers, and this huge inflation overhang. You're the sitting vice president, and you get put on elevated to the top of the ticket 107 days ahead of the election. I think that is a very high degree of difficulty put on anybody. And I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but we'll never know that.
Isgur pushed the set-up to fail narrative, painting Harris as a political martyr. But that's nonsense. She had media worship, protection, and endless opportunities. The problem wasn't sabotage, it was her lack of substance and her party's obsession with woke politics.
Who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign. Why?
A Democrat would have needed to run away from
Bill,
the
I don't know if you know this, but the vice president of the United States is basically shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
Like, you couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days is not long enough to know somebody?
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what their ability. No. You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent
Yeah.
for 8
Decades.
years.
Okay.
No, before that.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates.
Enter John Heilman, desperate to spin. After years of selling Bidenomics is booming, he suddenly admitted the economy was a mess and tried blaming that for Harris's collapse. Maher wasn't fooled. He called out the excuses as pure damage control.
You ever watch this show? But I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah.
At the top, we were talking about this, and he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all that so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
Mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's like literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion.
No.
A lot of it.
Let's get real. Harris wasn't sidelined, she was spotlighted. From the border crisis to major interviews, she had chances to lead and connect. Instead, she avoided tough questions and delivered word salads, awkward laughs, and zero results.
The person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out? Or in a week. You know, did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? Yeah, people.
How are you gonna
ridiculous.
enforce that?
We just get sicker of them.
what? So
How are you going to tell people
and
they
they say
can't
the
talk
same
about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making a law.
Bill, are you?
Isn't there somehow
Of
ability
course.
to reduce the amount of money
trying-
involved
Get
in
rid of
politics?
super PACs by making it no limits, full disclosure. 24-hour disclosure.
We could
should
fix
have
democracy in a
instant
minute. Get rid of gerrymandering. Get rid of money in politics. Get rid of
it. You're not
the
gonna get rid of
electoral
it. It's
college.
water.
No, none of that is. We're going to keep working with this constipated system that we live with.
At first, Harris had buzz. But her party's woke obsession killed it. Americans struggling with gas, groceries, and inflation weren't looking for lectures on pronouns. Meanwhile, Trump was offering blunt promises on the economy. It wasn't a hard choice.
Is that no people were late deciders in the election.
No,
Nobody
they were. I
decided.
talked about them last week.
Right,
Christmas Eve shoppers,
so those
I
people,
called.
so those people apparently needed longer than 90
they
days.
would have been
Always-
undecided.
They always would have been.
Exactly.
They were always
That's why I call them. I called them, John, I said this last week. I called them Christmas Eve shoppers. My father was one. People who don't buy their presents until the Christmas Eve night. He would go into the store, and he wouldn't feel like he could do it until he was fully in the spirit. You had to be in the store on Christmas Eve with Santa and all the fucking elves and everything that was going on.
Maher hit the real point. In today's media world, it only takes 60 seconds to know a candidate. Trump had Make America Great Again. Harris had nothing memorable, just empty platitudes. Style without substance doesn't win elections.